into with the offseason underway in the NBA. A lot of deals have become official since we were last together last week, so why don't we recap? Thunder champion and league MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has signed his Supermax extension, and now the Thunder are giving Chet Holmgren a fully guaranteed 5-year rookie max extension that could reach $250 million. Meanwhile, former number 1 pick Paolo Banchero agreed to a 5-year rookie max extension with the Magic that could reach $287 million after having a career year last season where he averaged nearly 26 points per game. And just last night, you might have been sleeping, but Suns superstar Devin Booker agreed to a 2-year, $145 million max extension. Goes all the way through to the 2029-2030 season. Booker's average annual value of $72.5 million is now the richest in NBA history, surpassing SGA's latest deal. Wendy, I'm starting here with you on Devin Booker, a big one for the Phoenix Star. What was your initial reaction to that deal?
Well, let me just say a couple of things on this one, Courtney. I know people are going to react to that enormous number and that fact that you just said, that is the largest per season contract in NBA history. I just want to point out that this contract is for 3 years from now, for years 4 and 5 of the deal. And by 2029 and 2030, $70 million is going to be the going rate for a max level player in the NBA. And by actual percentage of the salary cap, he's actually will be making less potentially by percentage in 5 years than he's making this year with the Suns. That's trying to give you some context. But the Suns decided to do this deal months ago. When they entered the offseason, they knew they wanted to make sure their franchise player was locked up, especially as they were preparing to trade Kevin Durant. Booker decided he was going to take it at that time. And I know this because he's been involved with the major decision-making in the franchise in the offseason. He was part of the interview process with Jordan Ott, who won a long, multi-candidate search to get that head coaching job. When they traded Kevin Durant, they consulted with Booker before taking the deal that they did with the Rockets. Booker has been in lockstep with the franchise. Now, if you want to say to me, should Devin Booker in his prime be locking himself up for the next 5 years with a franchise that is hamstrung by some flawed trades it's made over the last couple of years, particularly Durant and Bradley Beal? That's a different concept. But I would say to you, as I would say to anybody, if somebody offers you $145 million, the answer is probably yes. And that is the big reason why Booker took it, in addition to him being a huge Kobe Bryant fan and wanting to do what Kobe did, which is to play his whole career with one team.
David, what's your reaction to that?
Let's start with the positive here. Let's start with the positive here with Devin Booker. Devin Booker absolutely deserves this kind of money. He's one of the best shooting guards in the league. He was the best player on a team that went to an NBA Finals a few years ago. This makes all the sense in the world from him from a financial standpoint. To $145 million, a lot of money. Now, let's talk about the problem here. The Phoenix Suns are doomed to purgatory and one of the more rudderless franchises that we have in all of the NBA. And I don't think there's a franchise I would want to be less for the next few years than this Phoenix Suns team. A few years ago, they had what was the blueprint for the type of team that gets to championships and gets deep into playoff runs. They had a player in Devin Booker. They had a young core around them. They had a team that everybody is trying to emulate right now. They blew that up to bring in older players, to bring in the Kevin Durants of the world, to bring in Beal and those type of guys. And now they have a franchise where they do not really have picks for a long time, for many years, control their own picks, and they have, middling players around Devin Booker. Let's be honest, no disrespect to those players. Their hope is that one of these draft picks they have this year can turn into somebody. But Devin Booker is really looking at a situation that is pretty closely to one of his teammates, which is Bradley Beal when he was in the Washington Wizards, where you are a shining star around a franchise that really has no way to put any big talent around you or make any sort of run deep into the playoffs, and you cannot build through the draft. This is something that I would not want to be in, all things considered, taking away the money. But when the money's concerned, yes, you have to take it. But he has to understand that he is going to be part of a franchise that's going nowhere for most of the time he's on that contract.
That's a hard pill to swallow if you think of the fact that he's 28 years old right now. I'm not even thinking about 5 years down the line when he's 34. And Windy, obviously, he had 3 years remaining on his current contract before they did this extension. But he's the face of Phoenix sports, guys. Like, this is something that was in the works for a while, and they had to do it. But I'm thinking of what David just said, Windy, like the most directionless franchise in the West in the NBA. How do you react to that?
Well, it's possible, Courtney, that the Suns are about to make another 5-year deal. They have had discussions with Bradley Beal about buying him out of his contract. And I mean, we just saw this with Dame Lillard in Milwaukee. If this happens, and it's still an if, and they waive and stretch him, which is something I think they're seriously considering, Bradley Beal would be on the books for 5 more years. That means that while Devin Booker is making $70 million in 2028, 29, and 29, 30, Bradley Beal would be making $22 or so million in that same year. And the idea of having Bradley Beal having to be an anchor on your cap for that long is hard to swallow. And the reason that they're going to do it, or the reason they're seriously thinking about doing it, is because it's going to potentially save them over $150 million this year in luxury tax, this year alone. It is not a move that like Milwaukee did, where they're trying to bring in a player to help him immediately, help Giannis Antetokounmpo immediately. At least that you can go to your franchise star and say, we're doing this, it's going to hurt us in the future, but we want to get you a center. If this happens, and I want to underscore if they buy out Bradley Beal, it would be to save luxury tax money. And by the way, $150 million, that's a reason to do it. But that's the situation that Devin Booker is re-signing with, and I think everybody's eyes are wide open.
Wave and stretch, I guess that's kind of like the new bend and snap, maybe? Anybody get the Legally Blonde reference there? Am I the only one? Okay. All right, so you mentioned Giannis Antetokounmpo. Let's pick up there from stars.
You know, NFL is just kind of cooked. Brian Windhorst, it's time for a Windy Watch. What's going on in Phoenix?
Well, this is some good news for the Suns. They are locking Devin Booker into a 2-year contract extension at about $145 million. That's right. It'll be the largest contract extension in average annual salary in NBA history, nudging out Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's that he signed last week. Now, I just want to point something out. This new contract is for starting 3 years from now. In 2029 and in 2030, $70 million will be somewhat routine for top players in the NBA, just to get you past your shock value.
Yeah, that's good news for players in the NBA. What about Denver? What's going on with Jokic and the Nuggets?
This did not get done. So Jokic was offered a 3-year contract extension by the Nuggets. He turned it down. This is not a stunner to the Nuggets. Their owner, Josh Kroenke, said a couple of weeks ago that they would offer it and he would expect him to turn it down. The reason he turned it down is because if he waits until next year, he can lock in an additional year and an additional $77 million. But it's never great news when your franchise player says no to an extension.
Tim McMahon, what do you think about what's going on in Denver? Could we be looking at Jokic on a different team at some point?
I mean, listen, you never say never, and I know people are going to, the Photoshop folks are going to have him in a Lakers uniform, maybe a Heat uniform. We can talk Clippers, so on and so forth. The simple fact of the matter, though, is I don't believe that Nikola Jokic is looking around and considering other possibilities. This is a pure financial play.
Hello, chào mừng các bạn đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Để bắt đầu phải làm thì các bạn sẽ chuẩn bị cho mình những dụng cụ như sau nha. Ở đây mình có chuẩn bị một tờ giấy màu vàng. Tiếp theo các bạn sẽ chuẩn bị cho mình một cây kéo, một cái bút chì, một cái thước này. Cuối cùng là một cây súng bắn keo như thế này nha. Rồi bây giờ mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn vào làm nhé. Đầu tiên thì mình sẽ lấy cái bút chì và thước kéo. cho mình kích thước của cái tờ giấy này. Nó sẽ là 14 cm nha.